many parents end up doing more, not less, for their child as their child ages. Well, as you get older, it actually gets harder. Because when you're younger, you're stronger. I mean, you have the prime of your life in your like teens, 20s. And naturally, you're going to do better, and, and it levels off just like it does for everybody. But then that's where problems will surface a lot of the time. And I don't know if that should be so surprising, actually. I don't know. Like, would you really expect, like, when someone's 40 or 50, maybe, that they would need less support? I don't know if major changes like that happen when you get older. I suppose it could if you had a brain that's developing at a different rate, but then it says the supports of school are removed. Well, yeah, supports of school. Also, the torture of school is removed. I think that does a lot of good for some people. And it says nothing takes their place. Well, no, and nothing should, because just because like I'm autistic, I don't want to be schooled for the rest of my life. I don't need to be in a desk learning how to be normal, because guess what? That's not going to teach me to be normal anyhow. So what are these supports of school that are going to be in place? But then I can say that as a high functioning person, because I'm just really not into that. And I never got any supports, and I don't trust that. So I don't really care. Other people may feel differently. Then it says, Carl Taro Greenfeld notes that for severely autistic people, graduation is perhaps the saddest day in their lives. Well, who told him that he's like to decide what's the saddest day in somebody's life? Honestly, I don't know. What is it with needing to grow and develop and be healthy and blah blah blah, that if you're disabled, like, as long as you're in school, allegedly you're making progress, and then as soon as you graduate, your life's over? Like, that's all superimposed anyhow. So, who knows? Who knows what people's lives mean to them, honestly, but I don't even think this was the right paragraph. Oh, right, and then there's the one where she says, people who are not diagnosed, like, how people are struggling with their kids who aren't diagnosed when they become adults. And I think she's alluding to that when she says, what about all the people who are barely holding onto a crappy job, missing car payments and rent, forgetting to take medicine and use birth control? The many people who have never been diagnosed as anything but slackers or losers or genetically weak, and may in fact have high functioning autism. Okay, yeah, she's not alluding to it, she's saying it. Or mild retardation or learning disabilities, but qualify for exactly nothing. Well, you could live independently and do well if you had like an IQ of 80, allegedly. I have friends who say this. You could also live well independently if you had learning disabilities. You could live well and independently if you had high functioning autism. And the idea that like anyone with autism is going to necessarily be a huge red flag, I think isn't exactly right. Like, they may have a job, or they may be able to keep up with car payments. They could be having just as much trouble as anyone else in a way, but it won't always be so obvious. Like, they won't necessarily be failing at everything all the time. But one day they could go into work and be fired and have like no good references, so they could still have serious problems, but they're not going to look a certain way. And that's the thing that gets me. Like, you can't just tell by people's tendencies necessarily. So just wanted to talk about the article. Yeah, again, that's the April edition of Harper's, and it's by Sally Tisdale. Yeah. Tistale. So check out if that's something that interests you. It's just a little memoir.